Welcome everybody to perFORM Music Incubator Podcast. perFORM Music Incubator is an artistic development and music enterprise incubator. We are concerned with upskilling the whole music ecosystem, from songwriters, artists, music producers, sound and light engineers, artist managers, publicists, event producers, name it. We are getting the whole industry ready. In today's episode, we discuss events, the who, what, where, how, when of an event. How do you think about risk? How do you manage your risk? What does a budget actually mean? How do you think through cash flow? How do you predict income? How do you make the income? Speaking of which, how do you set your ticket price? How do you think about cancellation if it needs to happen? And what's the difference between a cancellation and a postponement? How do you treat artists and other talent? How do you treat vendors? How do you onboard vendors? I mean, there's so many insights that are going to come out of this episode. So if events is your thing, I welcome you to today's episode. Welcome everybody to perFORM Music Incubator Podcast. Today we have a really interesting conversation lined up for you. We're discussing events, the what, the how, the where, the why, the things that you really need to think about as you get into events. This is Events 101, and I'm super happy to introduce a good friend of mine and my co-panelist, Mr. Willie.
Yes.
Willie, maybe you wanna present yourself.
Well, my name is Willie Gichora. I'm the co-founder and manager of Muze Club. We own and operate a nightclub in Westlands called Muze Club, and we also organize outdoor events under the brand Muze Open Air. And of course, I'd like to say that my first job was working at Blankets, so this is like family to me. So yeah, that's who I am, and I'm excited to have this chat with you, Muthoni.
Excellent. I feel like this is one of the most, I want to say misunderstood or under thought through areas of the music industry. I feel like anybody thinks that they can just do an event.
Yes. I have totally come across that. Like, I think there's actually a lot more thought process that goes behind events. Even I sort of didn't understand it until I really got into it, understanding who to book, why you're booking them, what impact they'll have on you, on the city, on the scene.
Yeah.
It's bigger than it looks. But I think at the end of the day, when everything comes together perfectly, it's totally worth it.
And I think this is the reason why people think events are easy.
Yeah.
Because if you go to a well-produced event,
it
seems
it's seamless.
Flawless.
Exactly.
And, like things are just moving.
Yes.
So it seems to you like, oh. And
so easy to do.
So easy to do. And I also think because like, I don't know, you've hosted a birthday.
Yes.
Or like, I don't know, you DJ in this club, you've been around events. So people really think that they can just do events.
Yeah.
Which is why there's so many disaster events.
Yes. So, and you learn as you grow.
Yeah. So I wanted to start maybe there at just like fundamentally just the idea for you of what is an event.
To me, an event it's sort of like a coming together of a lot of things. It's fans interacting with an artist they love. It's an industry getting an opportunity to grow. It's also like a capacity building opportunity because of the different people that are involved. As you're scaling, you really get to grow people as well, like in the team. Yeah. You know, like the guys who intern for us, you know, someone like Marlene who is coming to work as a stage manager, Paul who is working as like a deputy manager. Like all these different people, as you do the event, it's like they all sort of grow. So I always see it as an opportunity for growth, actually. The scene and the fans also get to grow, and because they get to see like the artists that they love. So it's a coming together of a lot of things. But at the end of the day, for me, it's a growth catalyst. Because I feel like one event, a good event leads to another event. So it's always like you're always sort of scaling up until you're at a level where you can manage events from top to bottom, from very large to sort of large to medium to small. Yeah. You sort of grow.
Yeah. For me, I think of an event really as a tangible, experiential experience.
It's true.
So it's experience.
Yes.
I think it's really an experience. So you have the idea of music, and then the whole experience that goes around the music. So whether it's the artist, whether it's the food, whether it's the toilets, the parking of the venue, there's all these things that make the experience of this thing.
Yes.
The larger the experience and the bigger the programming, you transition from concert into festival.
Yes.
But then also the thinking is different. So at a concert, you go to watch, it's the billing. There's an artist.
The headliner, and then it breaks down.
And then at a festival, you go to discover music, right? And at a festival, you have the combination of what you know and what you don't know.
Yes.
At a concert, quite often, you go to watch a specific artist that you know.
Yeah,
right?
True.
So just if we think about that, I want to take the next step because we just said people think they can really do events. Who is an event producer? I'd like us to break this concept down a little bit because it's actually a professional.
Yes.
The way there's like a lawyer or a doctor.
Yes.
There's a person called a producer.
Yes.
Who is an event producer?
Well, I'm definitely an event producer, so I'm trying to describe what exactly it is that I would say that I do. But I think an event producer is a person who conceptualizes the whole thing. And at the end of the day, that is the person who is 100% in charge of the execution.
Absolutely.
Even though you can delegate to a lot of people, the event producer is the guy who signs the contract and is one who is really responsible for this thing either succeeding or failing.
I think of the event producer as the hand of God, the invisible hand of God.
Yes.
You entered a toilet. Somebody found the person with the toilet.
And
got that toilet to be put at that specific place. With water and tissue. And lighting. Like that is the work. A producer is the person who literally
produces the whole thing
the experience
and figures all of those different parts out.
Exactly. So, and I think if you think about an industry, let's say weddings, there is the person called the planner.
Yes, the wedding planner. Exactly.
So the producer is basically the planner.
Exactly.
Who is also the head of execution.
Yes.
And their job is to build out an execution team, right?
Yes.
To find all the right suppliers. To contract and to deliver
the
concept.
concert,
to
the public, the fans.
Right. So not anybody can be a producer.
No. In fact, like,
tell me some things that you know to be true about a good producer.
I think a good producer have a very clear vision of what they want. I think vision is the most important thing. I never approach an event without having an idea of exactly what I want. So producer has good vision. And I think they also have experience. That's really important. I feel like the biggest events in Kenya and in the world, they've been organized by people who have experience, and those people have also scaled. So having that vision, having that experience, and I think also there's a reasonable degree of connections. I feel like a good event producer has good connections.
Exactly.
Because to get all of these different parts to work, you really need to be able to know different people and also be able to tap into different networks. And also, I think also be kind of a people person in the sense of being able to get things to move. Because, if there's one thing I know about events that's true, is that there's always going to be things changing. Honestly, until the gate is closed. Things are always going to be changing. You think you have this sorted, then you get a surprised VIP guest. Or maybe your DJ is late, or there's something or another. So sort of having good connections, the experience, and I guess the expertise and the vision, those are the things that to me make a good producer.
For me, I think in addition to everything you said, it must be somebody who is a very good project manager, right? Because an event is interestingly, not an event. It's actually a sequence of very many
things,
right? And a long window of planning, right? So it must be somebody who is very good at being able to think through this big idea in piecemeal, piece by piece by piece by piece, because you're actually building a puzzle, right? So a good time manager, I think a good process manager, right? I also think that they must be a strong leader.
Very true.
Because you're really going to end up putting together many teams work under
and they're looking at you to give them the
direction,
right? Exactly.
To maintain the vision, to maintain your cool.
Exactly.
Under pressure, to be able to maintain internal communication.
Yes.
Right? Because you're leading multiple teams. Actually, an event producer really leads multiple teams.
Yes.
So it's really a CEO role.
Yeah.
Yeah. But a very hands-on CEO with a lot of managerial components. I don't know what you think about that.
No, I agree with that. And hearing you say it, that's how I know you have many years of experience with it, because I love how you break that stuff down. Every time like I come for this perFORM events and workshops, I always learn from you because, and this is what I was saying about expertise. Yeah. It's all these years of experience that now lets you know exactly how to break it down. Because even for me, honestly, I am trying to work my way to the level where you're at, where you're breaking these things down like that. Because you're right, you're the captain of a ship.
You're the captain of a ship.
Yeah.
And when you think about something like a festival, that's something that you're going to produce over an 8 to 12 month window.
Yes.
Which most people don't see because you only see the date of the experience.
Yes. For you, it's 1 or 2 days, and for us, it's like 6 or 7 months or whatever.
10 months of prep.
Yes.
And that prep means it's like systems. It's, I think also a good producer is a good fundraiser.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You have to be a good fundraiser.
You have to be a good fundraiser, and you have to learn how you're going to raise your funds and who is going to come through for you and who isn't.
Yes. And why you then also need to think about a good team, hiring the right people in the team.
Yeah.
Because budget management, cash flow management is a big. Cash flow management is a big part of producing an event.
Let me tell you, I have to be honest, like this Muze Open Air, the last one we just did, it was the first event where we actually had a proper budget.
Correct.
Like for once. Like that budget, it was even the checklist. I kept telling people, even if it's 0, add it to the budget. Because the budget ended up being the check. I don't want any surprises. Just say 0. So if guys said it's free, cool. Yeah. Put 0 because the budget is the checklist. Man. Yani you grow. You grow with every gig.
So those are some characteristics of a good event producer.
Yeah.
I think so. To the flip of it, a bad event producer.
Yeah.
For me, is somebody who thinks or who gets carried away with the music part, right? And so the only reason why you're doing this gig is because you really just want to hang out with artist X.
Yes.
So you are a fan of the artist and you forget that actually you are contracting an artist.
Yes. Yeah. It's a contractual relationship. The guy has come to perform at your event. He's not your friend per se. Like he's happy to meet you, but
he's not your boy. He's not trying to like be your selfies or nothing.
Yeah.
And actually all that fanboying you're doing, it's like there's nothing special about that.
There's so much. Like I was thinking about this when I was anticipating meeting Black Coffee, and I realized, at the end of the day, as much as I like his music, we also had a promoter-artist relationship of where he's expecting us to deliver this, and we are delivering that, and we expect him to do this. And, for us, what I was really happy about the most was that he extended his set. Yeah. He played for 2 hours.
Yeah. Because he enjoyed it
so much. So, but then at the end of the day, we were like, thank you very much. It was such a pleasure. And I'm sure he moved on to his next show.
Exactly.
And, that was the end of that, so to speak, until next time.
I think a bad event producer is somebody who spends so much time thinking about how they're going to get clout out of this thing.
Yeah.
Social capital.
People even try to talk about clout even before the event has happened.
Correct.
Yes.
I think a bad event producer is also someone who is a poor team leader, like a person who's not able to put together a professional team. A person who's like, hey, but I know my cousin has bodyguards.
Yes.
Cutting corners.
Yeah. Hey, no.
I think for me, because there's one part of the event production, at least music event production, is the artist.
Yeah.
Which is a whole story, which we'll come into. But the other part is human management.
Yes.
You're literally asking thousands of people to entrust their lives.
Yes.
Yes.
Their money.
Their money. But their lives, what I mean? Like literally.
Yeah.
So if you don't think through door management, it's a stampede, people will die on you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or if you don't think through like the right vendors for food, people will get food poisoning and die on you.
Yes.
Right? And there's a very real
consequence that can happen.
Exactly.
And that's what I was saying about like you being like the captain of the ship. Because if all of those different parts of the event go wrong, it's on you.
It's on you.
Let me tell you, I have booked artists, the guy is about to miss his flight. And in that moment, I've thought, okay, the guy can miss his flight. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, I'm still in charge of him until he lands where he came from.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So whatever is happening in Kenya to that guy is my responsibility.
Absolutely.
Whether, of course, even if it's after the event,
absolutely,
it's still on you. It's a heavy responsibility. And I think you have to be aware of that.
Yeah,
you have to be aware of that. It's not just that the guy showed up and blah, blah, blah.
And I think that's a real thing. I think that's, I think I really appreciate what you just said.
Yeah.
I think a bad event producer is somebody who does not recognize the weight of the responsibility.
Exactly.
Whether it's to vendors, so like if an artist decides that they're canceling at the last minute without you having put in place what cancellation policies look like.
Yeah.
So people's businesses could collapse because of you.
Yes.
Right.
Like what happened with the vendors at the South Soul show. They were so sad. They were like, you canceled on the day of the gig. We had bought things.
What does this
that mean? Yeah.
And the fact that there was no process to absorb that. So I think that's something that I think another bad quality of an event producer is somebody who takes who if you don't see the whole picture.
Yes.
So what you were talking about vision.
Yes.
So you're only seeing the part for it's gonna be fun.
Yes. Oh yeah. I'm just looking forward to the fun part.
And you're not thinking about like, oh, it's not enough to have ambulances.
Yes.
The question really is,
what is your
exit route? Thank you. Yes. And then what is your exit route and what is the receiving hospital if you have incidences?
Exactly.
So what is that relationship between your paramedics on ground
and the
receiving hospital?
Yes.
And the police in between. So if you think about like the Travis Scott
incident at his concert,
at the
Astroworld,
Astroworld. The fact that there was the paramedics couldn't get the help that they needed.
Even getting there. I don't understand how that went wrong. So sad.
So exactly. But the fact that if you're not able to piece the things, it's not enough to have a fire truck.
Yes, or even to have the booklet, because the security guys were like, we had a huge booklet, but how do you actualize that booklet?
Exactly, right, yes. And when thinking through contingency, so I think somebody who just like completely underthinks a situation, I think that makes, you shouldn't be a producer.
Yeah. In fact, I think very few people should produce events.
Very few.
Quite frankly.
Truly, because it's project management. It's at a very extreme level.
Lives at stake. Like when this Astroworld incident happened, it was the same day as my Muze Open Air concert. That I woke up to see that.
Yeah.
Man, I went through all the scenarios in my head. I was like, okay, do we have this? Do we have this? What happens if we do this?
Yeah.
Because that was being produced by the world's largest live concert company, and the concert still went wrong.
Exactly.
So it's not an easy undertaking, and you really have to think about everything. And if there's one thing I've learned nowadays, is actually to think of my worst case scenario.
Absolutely.
And be like, if everything goes wrong, am I ready?
Exactly. Actually, that's the purpose of planning, right? Is to have contingency for your worst case scenarios. And then people operating like best outcome.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. People,
but you plan for your worst case scenarios.
Like when it came to security for this gig. Because there's all this terror alert manendos happening right now. Our security budget went from like 50 Gs to 500K.
Astronomical.
And I was like, you know what? The last thing I want is for people not to feel safe or for something to happen, because it's my responsibility. I can't just tell you, fine, go take the public liability insurance. No. You still put your trust in us.
Yeah. Because an event is also a trust system. I think that's a thing that an event is. It's a trust system. I trust that. You have thought this thing through, that you're saying person X is coming, and you have thought through how this thing is going to work for me. I think the last thing I would say about a bad event producer is somebody who thinks that money is the solution, right? So I find that, at least in our market, because you can get an artist, somebody knows somebody who can get you artist X. Yes. And you can put together the money. So you think that you are an event producer.
Yes.
Whereas in reality, at best, you're an investor.
Yes.
Right?
Pretty much. You have the money for the guy.
You have the money. Like, period. That's all you have in this thing. That's all you know. But then the people with the money often think that, because they have the money, that's the hardest part. The hardest part is to have the 100K.
Actually, to
for
be
my
honest,
artist X.
the easiest part is having the money, quite frankly.
I actually think so too.
Like, great, you've paid the deposit, you've paid
Wonderful.
the balance, excellent.
Good for you.
That's
literally the easiest
That's the
part.
easiest part.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think that what the why is, before we move to the next thought, would be, if you have money and you want to produce an event, your first job should be to find
an event producer,
a strong, credible event producer,
Exactly.
somebody who has experience
Yes.
and who has produced different variations
Yes.
of things,
Yes.
or at least the thing that you would hope to see, right?
Yeah.
Because also club production, event, I'm sure you have this experience producing within the club.
Yeah, it's very different from outside.
From producing open air,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So I think that if you have money as an investor, it's also understanding that in the budget, the thing called artist is only one.
It's one line. Really, it's just one line, and then there are 500 other lines after that.
So having the money to pay the artist is really you've begun the conversation, but you're far from
you're far away.
Okay, cool. I wanted to see how you feel about that.
Muthoni, you're 100% right. And it's actually good to contrast both the good parts of an event producer and the bad parts.
Excellent.
So that you can also identify who is not correct. Yeah.
So Willie, I want to ask about the why, the what, how, the why, when, for whom, the where of an event, right? Because, okay, first and foremost, must it be an event, right? So when you think about this idea, must you do it? Yeah. What is your motivation to do it, right? If you're because in my view, for example, finance is a result of, not the purpose of, right? Yes. It should be the result of. Yeah. So if your motivation, if you're only, the reason you're doing this gig is to make it go up. Again, you're a bad event producer. You've already failed before the thing has started. Totally. And you're going to make very many poor decisions because you're trying to make money. Exactly. So now, after you've gone through the hurdles and you have convinced yourself, actually, there's a due purpose. Yes, there's a purpose for this event. Yes. So tell me how to think through this: why, when, for whom, where. What's kind of what have you found to be true for you?
With us, we've always tried to be very eclectic. And build a brand where people know that it's always about the quality, not necessarily about the guy having like a name brand, but it's about the quality. So that question will come, and we have a schedule. So which depends. We have our schedule, so we know how we're alternating between guys. And then I think the other question is the where, and that's become the big question. Especially I'm seeing on Twitter, like where, which venue, where is this venue, where is this event happening? So we've been struggling with that. I'll be honest, just because, I think between you and me and between a few other good guys, we're really keen on the experience. So we've been trying to find like the right venue. And of course, before this conversation, I was saying, I think we might have to come up with a collective solution and just be like, we'll just build it and hopefully they will come. So after I've decided the where, and for us, the where is basically two parts. It's either, is it in the club?
Yeah.
Or is it outdoors? So normally, if the artist is quite prominent, then we'll take it outside. But if it's more underground, or it's someone who's just coming up, a rising star, that kind of thing, then we'll do it inside the club. And it's been very good for us to be able to answer that question actually with having the two options. Is because now, based on the caliber of the artist, I know, okay, this is perfect for the club, or I'll pivot to this is perfect for outdoors. Then the when, of course, the when now, it depends now on the schedule of things around. For me, I always think that if the event is good enough, I think people will come. But I know people always try these tricks, so people have been paid, I don't know what, etc. People will come.
The when is quite connected to the who.
Yeah. Yes.
Because
exactly,
it does make a difference, like when your audience is able to finance.
Yeah. But I don't always, for me, that's not always. I don't let it weigh me too much. Indeed. Because also there's also sometimes an issue of artist availability.
Indeed.
So I think you have to weigh artist availability.
Absolutely.
And also like, when you think it can happen.
Because like if you're trying to bring in an international touring artist, the summer is not ideal for them because they're on a European or an American circuit. Yeah. So that when is important for the artist. In a way, it may not be important for the audience. So you have to sort of balance that, the when. But for me,
you sort of just have to gauge. It's, again, an event is like a soup. You know, there are all sorts of things that are happening in there, and you have to decide, okay, now we're going to throw in this date, so maybe we're going to do this.
But I think what I would like to say is that it's not random.
It's not random. It's not random, but I think you have to weigh your scenario and then really decide and be like, this is who I'm bringing. Because I feel like, you know, if you also announce an event far out in advance, people can also plan themselves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So again, comes down to the expertise and your audience and everything. So that's the when.
So you have your who,
which,
your why, which is your big guiding.
Yes, exactly.
Purpose,
which is,
right? And your why tells you. That's actually what keeps you.
It's what keeps you going. It's what keeps you going. And
what are you building?
The why is the why is what keeps you going from event to event.
Correct.
At least that's what it does for me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're building something sustainable.
Exactly.
If your why was because I want to make money.
Yeah. Then you'll do one big one time and you'll move on to the next thing.
Because also, like, you wouldn't make the money you thought that you were going to make. Because you made bad decisions. Like you said. So you have your why, you have your who.
Yes.
So that goes to artists, right?
And also the audience.
It goes to your partners.
Yes.
It goes to your vendors.
Yes.
Okay. Then you have your
where.
Your where.
Yeah, the venue, really.
Very important.
Yeah.
Right? So is it indoor or outdoor? Right?
Yeah.
And also just to say to people that it's just because Kenya has such an underdeveloped infrastructure that we end up being outdoors so much.
Yes.
In a lot of other places where there's a developed music infrastructure, we do events indoors.
Yeah, where you can do them year round.
Yes.
You're not worried about the fence.
Exactly.
It's purpose built.
Yes.
I think we have to move towards that.
Yes. Yeah. I definitely. And I think we are the ones who are going to have that conversation.
Yeah.
The when, which is for the artist.
Yes.
Primarily. But also for your audience.
Yes. Yeah.
I also want to add sometimes your partners. Right. So like if you are, so next year, 2020, I mean in 2022, which is an election year, the when is going to be important.
Yes.
Because depending on what the politics is saying, it determines whether people feel safe. It also determines whether corporate is willing to put money or whether they are observing the situation.
Yeah. True.
So I think when is...
Yeah, the when is key.
The when is
key.
Okay,
maybe I underplayed slightly. But it's just that for me, it comes... It's a combination of a lot of things. Yeah. It's not just one thing. So I think you have to leave that room for nuance.
Yes, nuance.
Yes. Yeah.
Then there's a H, the how.
The how. Now that is a spreadsheet. And I think if there's one tip I can say just from my last gig, like I said, is your checklist should be your budget. Yeah. Even if it's free. Yeah. Put it in that budget, because I'll tell you, my team and I were working around that thing, and our guiding principle was that spreadsheet. Yeah. If it was not on that spreadsheet, we just knew between us it was all going to happen. Yeah. Because we have experience from other events where we like make an assumption or we like say, okay, sir, we'll remember, and we don't note it down. And you know, there's some things that you don't think like would make sense in the budget, but from experience I learned, just have that as a checklist, even if it's free. Yeah. Because someone will tell you, sir, I'll do that for you. But then like, either they forget or you forget to remind them,
or they are doing it for you for free, but you're paying transport,
or you're paying transport, or those small things. VAT, yes, the meals, the waters, the this, the that, all of that. In fact, the how should just start with a Google sheet.
Okay, so I fully agree that there's one side of the how, which is 100% your budget, and coming to that,
and the checklisting.
Then for me, there's a second sheet which is called the task sheet.
Yes,
right.
Yes.
And so literally any and every job has to be on a task
list. Yes.
And
so true.
Is assigned a timeline.
Yeah, and a person.
And on an ongoing basis reporting against tasks.
Yes.
Right. So if you have like a year-long window. Or an 8-month window to plan a festival. Yeah. There are some tasks that are recurring. Yeah. And then there are some tasks that are like one-offs. Yeah. Right?
Oh yeah.
So to me, these things are literally hand in hand. They are the two sides of the coin. The task sheet.
Yes. And your budget.
Yes. Those two things.
Yeah. So for me, I just honestly, like, if you look at like my spreadsheet, I have like the tasks at the end of the budget. This is a whole line. Who is in charge of this line? And when are they reporting? And when is the deadline and everything? Yeah, but you're right. It's two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that a lot of people don't necessarily think through. So that's a major key I hope you shared. Okay.
Yeah, and again, comes down to experience.
Yeah.
Because I found really, especially I think with people like us who are creatives and also business people, we learn a lot through experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But experience is not the only teacher.
It's not the only teacher.
I greatly discourage
the idea of experience.
Of experience, when there's other people's lives involved.
True.
I feel in this situation, you build your experience by working for a producer. And then land the job by working for a producer.
Yes.
And then go be a producer.
Exactly.
Right?
And that's why I said at the beginning of this, that I would say that my first job was working at Brackets, because that's why I learned through you guys and saw all those different things that when I'm doing my own thing,
at least you're starting from like
ground,
you're not at ground zero at the beginning, right?
No.
Yeah, so if you have money in your pocket, please don't think that the first thing you're going to do is to produce an event. No, not at all.
Learn with somebody else.
Go hire the right person, and then shadow.
Yeah,
be asked to work in one of the teams, so that you can learn a specific thing.
Yes,
because you won't also learn everything.
Yeah,
right. So if you decide you'll be in the team that's doing, say, bar management, just learn that.
Yeah,
on that time, then put some other money and with another producer learn another part of the production. I don't know, let's say security.
Yeah.
Learn, give yourself time to learn it.
Just to sort of go back to what we're talking about, a good producer, I think, has been through all of those different parts.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You've worked at the bar, you've worked at the door, you've worked backstage, you've stage managed. And actually, now that I'm thinking about it in this conversation, I've actually worked all of these different bits of like an event.
Yes.
And it's all those things now combined.
Yeah.
That now forms
Got you.
an experience.
I want to talk about this thing called budget.
Yes.
Because I find that that's also another place where people really make big faux pas. So you think that, a good budget, in my view, has a list of all your expenditure, including tax, which is mandatory. Tax is mandatory, right? So you have all your expenditure.
Yeah.
Then you have another list that is your second sheet, which is listing all your income, all your income centers. So guaranteed and potential.
Yeah.
And then you have a third sheet, which is the cash flow.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Because you have to pay vendors.
Yes.
You have to pay artists. You're going to pay deposits. There's a system of staggering payments.
Yeah.
So that, you're not trying to pay everything at the last minute.
Yeah.
And at any rate, no vendor is coming until you've given them some deposits, some assurances about where the next amount is coming in, when the final payments are being made. So I think that I found that one of the places where people really blunder is this cash flow.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because then now sponsor X has told you that they're going to give you $20,000.
Yes.
But they're going to give you this money 90 days after invoicing.
Yes.
But you needed the $20,000.
Now, pretty much.
Okay.
Yes.
So, without a cash flow, without having cash flow management, you do not know how to fundraise.
Yes.
And I find that a lot of people think that the thing that you're fundraising for is your big ticket, which is everybody assumes that your big ticket is the artist fees. And actually, your artist fees is not necessarily your big ticket.
Expense, yes.
I don't know what you
I'll tell you this. Personally, I've actually struggled with this cash flow management. I think I'm getting better at it, but you really just have to understand when all the money is coming and when it's gonna go. And it's what's funny about events is that you especially if you have a long lead time, you can have all these great discussions, but then you sort of only need the money for 1 or 2 weeks, of course. That's when you're paying the deposits, and then that's when you're clearing the balances. So I think I disagree. You disagree?
I disagree. I think if you're running your cash flow properly,
you see, I'm not running it properly. So I'm learning. I'm really trying to get to that point where it's smooth. And one of the things that I'm trying to do actually now is I'm really trying to hire an accountant.
Yeah.
And also getting someone who can actually release money. A
finance manager.
Yeah.
You really want someone in a CFO role. To go back to our first point, a good event producer is a leader. And the first job of a leader is to build the institution, the team.
So I'm trying to find that CFO, but I need to find a cool CFO.
That's actually the first thing. And to be honest, if you think about it, even if you think about Safaricom, when a CEO enters, the first thing that they do is they hire their senior management. So when you have a transition between, I don't know, CEO X
Yeah.
I really mean it. I mean, check it.
No, you're right.
The first thing a CEO does is they come and stuff. That's the first job a CEO does.
They will confess there is a problem. But like I said, I think with time I'm gonna get it. But I just want to find someone cool. Yeah. Anyway, that's a play item.
The cash flow one we learned, that one I must admit, even for us, we learned over a period of time because you have to really think around. So you have all these things that need to happen, right? You have these tasks. You have to onboard people. And and then you're also able to earn. You can earn quite early if you know that your gig is coming up the X.
Yes.
If you get the people on your team who are like building out vendors, who are, recruiting and getting vendors pay you, so you can decide when vendors are paying you so that you can have cash flow to be able to do certain things. So I think the main thing for me in this point to take away is cash flow is king. In a business, cash flow is king. Having money to pay at the time you're meant to pay is king. If you don't pay the artist at the time that you guys agreed contractually, they will keep your 10% and keep it moving. They owe you nothing. You know that to be true, right?
If it's not paid 30 days before, especially with this contract,
right?
It becomes a story.
With an artist, you're probably going to have your booking fees for them to reserve the date, and then you're going to have your second payment, which is when they confirm the date.
Exactly.
And then you have your final payment, which is their final pay. If you don't make your second payment on time, that's it. You've lost your 10%. So cash flow is king. Which is also why people's gigs have sound being shut down because you didn't pay the sound provider.
The guy
It's crazy.
That's why you really have to manage the situation.
I want us to think very quickly around types of incomes for an event. Just to give some high level, we don't have to get into all the details, but just like top of your head, if you could just share some insights around where could income be generated?
Well, I think you have three main things. You have obviously the tickets, you have sponsors, and you have vendors. That's really it. And then it depends on what kind of relationships you have, and you sort of just go through there. I'm seeing people are trying to introduce like this ancillary means. So like the idea of being able to live stream your event. So being able to make money through there. But I would say that if you're looking at sources of income, I think try to find the one that's the most reliable. Because like you just said with like a sponsorship situation, for example, like if the money is coming 90 days after the fact, that might not really work for you, even though someone is willing to like support you, or maybe you have to change how you're organizing your events. But tickets, sponsorship, vendors.
So I think, and
of course this new ancillary one.
Correct media partnerships actually provide a lot of value. I want you to think, if you think through, so let's think Coachella, Beyonce, and YouTube. That was a whole amount of money that just didn't exist to either Coachella. Or Beyonce until they brokered the partnership, And then that partnership is for a limited time with YouTube and the content sits on Netflix.
Yes.
So if you design your media partnerships properly, this is not just ancillary income, it's actually substantive income.
I think it's an issue of the right partner sort of coming in at the same time.
Correct. So going back to what you said at the beginning, which is a good event producer, is well connected.
Exactly.
And building the right team because you have the right.
You call him, you tell him, I have this thing, let's make it happen.
I mean, even if you don't think, that, even if we don't go to Beyonce level, right? You can if you're in Kenya right now, you can very thoughtfully think through a relationship. If you have Standard Media Group who are broadcasting this thing where the value for the sponsor is quadrupled.
Yes.
Even by tenfold.
Yeah.
By visibility on television, than just the visibility you can get on ground.
Yeah.
So if you broker the partnership correctly with the media house, you will be able to make money on ground and on air. Yeah,
because you'll come in with a media partnership that shows the sponsor that you have an even wider reach. Yeah,
so I think that's a really good place.
That's interesting, Muthoni. Again, connections. And the way you discuss
and
the deal.
Vision. You have to have some vision.
Yeah.
I think another place which is deeply underrated, especially if you have a legacy event, is merchandise. Because true. Everybody always wants to take away a piece of that experience, something that they can have, and it doesn't need to be like, a super expensive top of the head, top of the range thing. It could be just like, I love this thing so much. I really want to wear the t-shirt of Nyashinsky at
Muze
Muze
Open
Open
Air.
Air, you know, whatever, right? So you really want to think through merchandise as a place where you can really make money, I think.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, we've tried to get into merchandise too. Definitely a category that we're trying to grow.
Marketing your event, you have to, the thing that you are telling people and the thing that it is should be true.
Yes.
So when I see
So
it,
true.
like when I see this thing, and when I come for this thing looks like the thing I saw.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
I think for me, what I would say as good practice to any, event producer is don't be in a hurry to have a ticket price.
Yeah.
Be meticulous in building the right costing.
Yeah.
Some of the things that I know to be true about a ticket is a ticket is a function of multiple things. The first being a function of your expenses. So then I think that there's a function of the actual expense of the event. I think then there's a function of what is a reasonable return that you would like to make against the event. And then there's a question of what can the market, the audience, your who, what can they afford?
Yes.
Relatively.
Yeah.